What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I ate a pineapple yesterday. I had no clue. Play this stupid thing. You know, I had this joke I did 3 years ago. What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I just watched the brand new movie, Creed 2. I was very much looking forward to this film, one of my most anticipated of the year. It has been my most anticipated since I saw First Man, so I was very excited walking into the theater. It was a packed house. The fans were going crazy, and I'm going to tell you guys how I feel about it. First up, if you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. More movie reviews to come this week. Tomorrow, Green Book and Ralph Breaks the Internet. Another sequel, but right now we're talking about the sequel to Creed. Let's get into it. So under the tutelage of Rocky Balboa, light heavyweight contender Adonis Creed faces off against Victor Drago, the son of Ivan Drago. My goodness, that synopsis. So much nostalgia, so much goodness, so many things in this film that people are going to love if you love Rocky or if you love Creed. And let's start off with this. I am the world's biggest fan of Creed. I will contend a lot of people may try to argue me, and you might be right, but listen, guys, I love the first Creed. It is one of my favorite movies of that year. It is slowly moving up in my favorite films of all time. I love everything about it, the directing and the acting, where it takes the franchise, the performance of Sylvester Stallone, and that one-take fight in the middle of the movie. So this film had a lot to live up to. Now, did this movie surpass the original? No. But I think the original is very close to a masterpiece. So the fact that it did not surpass it isn't a bad thing, guys. I'm here to tell you that Creed 2 is not just a solid sequel. It's not just a serviceable sequel. It's a great sequel. Creed 2 is a great movie, and a lot of it may have to do with the time that I had in the theater. I had a little bit of a bad time in certain aspects because there's a lot of people talking during the movie and rustling around some popcorn, and there were 5 phones, 5 different people texting during this film. And when I say rustling popcorn, I mean the guy behind me. He's got his hand in the popcorn thing. He's just mashing around and trying to grab, but he can't grab a piece. He doesn't know where the popcorn is, so he's just gotta keep his hand in the bucket. So clearly that upset me, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the incredible aspects of this film. And we also start with the crowd there. The crowd was into this movie. There was cheering, there was clapping, there was oohing and awing, there was a lot of laughter. This is a movie that is going to bring in the audience. Now, a lot of people will say, Austin, it's a crowd pleaser. It didn't do anything special or important or different. Well, when you have a sequel, first off, how many sequels are there to Rocky that either repeat the same formula or just change it up just a bit to keep fans happy? And Creed, which kind of repeated the Rocky formula but went in its own direction. If you think about it, a sequel really doesn't have that many options. I mean, at the end of the movie, Creed is either going to win the fight or lose the fight. It's A or B. If he loses the fight, well, then it's just a retread of the first Creed. If he wins the fight, well, then it's just a retread of one of the Rocky films. So it's really hard to keep some critics appeased in that situation, and if you think it's formulaic, I completely understand because there are elements of this story that are very familiar, and it kind of follows that same pathway that we've seen before. Now, it does take some of these side stories in different directions and focus on things that I think are very important for this movie alone, and I love what it did there. There are storylines that are explored in this film that I did not anticipate going in. I thought it was going to be a match and then another match. We're going to get some stuff with Rocky in here, him and his mother, he and his girlfriend, those relationships. But it was not just that. We got a lot of the Drago family. The cold open of the film, the very first scene, no spoilers, it starts out with those two people. Now, a lot of people may disagree with me, but I believe the decision to keep some of the focus on them was absolutely brilliant because at the end of the film, and I'm not going to tell you how I felt towards their characters, I felt towards their characters. There was emotion there. You explored their backstory. There are things about their past that come up in the film, and you understand why not just Creed needs to win this fight, why the Drago family needs to win this fight. It is incredible what they did with those characters. I did not see those guys getting explored walking into the film, and they were absolutely fleshed out, absolutely explored. They got character arcs. It's actually something that was lacking just a little bit in the first Creed. We didn't care as much about the person defending the title as we did in this movie, and I really love that decision. I think it brought a whole new element. Stephen Capel Jr., this guy got brought in by Ryan Coogler, who of course directed the first Creed, and I was worried going in because Ryan Coogler, you guys know Black Panther, Fruitvale Station, Creed, he makes the movies and then he makes the movies. Ryan Coogler is usually the star of his film, other than Michael B. Jordan, of course, because he's 3 for 3. So handing over the reins to a new director was a difficult thing for me, and I was very nervous, but I really like this director's style. It's distinct, it's very similar to the first Creed, and it keeps that same tone, but it's a little bit different. You can tell there's a different guy behind the camera. The shot selection, the graininess in some of the film, the different shots for different characters. You have one look with Creed, and then you have one look with Drago, and they keep that consistent throughout the film, and then when they face off at the end, I love the way that looked. There are some shots in this movie, some of the most beautiful color correction I have seen all year. They are gorgeous to look at, and I also didn't mind the writing. Now, the story gets a little bit conventional, but the writing, the dialogue, the conversations, the characters, and those side plots that I was talking about a little bit earlier, they're all explored in an interesting way, and even during those very slow moments and those tender moments between characters, while some people may say that's boring, I found it to be engaging because it's an element that I wasn't expecting with the sequel. You get a lot of emotion in this film, and you follow our main two characters through most of the movie. In Adonis and Bianca, their relationship is really what keeps this movie afloat. And there's just so much there. They go through so much as a couple. They do things and things happen with them that make Adonis have to step up in this relationship, and he's dealing with that all while this Drago stuff is going on. And I've not even talked about Rocky yet. Oh my goodness, Sylvester Stallone is fantastic in this movie, as he was in the first one. He brings that dynamic that you expect, that dynamic between he and Adonis. It's so good. When they butt heads because you know it's coming, when they have those emotional, tender moments because you know those are coming, I love every bit of it. What they do with his character, and especially towards the end, I'm not going to say what happens. There's a lot of emotion. I will leave you with that. So yeah, the writing, the characters, the emotion, the story, the fight scenes, they were all there. Now, I really like the fight scenes here. I do think the fight scenes in the first movie were better. I hate to keep comparing, but that's just what people do. And yes, there are montages, and yes, they're really good, especially a scene that has something to do with the desert. I'm not going to tell you what happens or what song is played, but the song really worked for me. And yes, it can get a little cheesy to some people, but for me, I'm getting fired up at the theater. I'm like, yeah! So like I said, if you watch this film and you say to me, Austin, this was a bit conventional, a tad cliched, and predictable. That is my biggest flaw, is this movie was predictable. Not just the end, but the path to the end. Now, these side stories I did not predict, and that extra level of emotion with certain characters, I'm not going to say who or what because I don't want to spoil anything about the plot, but the main story and anything to do with the clash between he and Drago, it was predictable. I knew what was going to happen at the beginning. I knew what was going to happen in the middle. And I kind of knew what was going to happen at the end. But once again, even though I knew what the destination was, the journey there is what really counts, and I really enjoyed that journey. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a character that pops up in there, and it has to do with the Dragos, and they keep paying attention, not just the Drago family, but the camera. It keeps focusing on this character, and every time this character is on screen, I just feel weird because it lingers on he/her for a little bit too long, and I don't know, the use of that character, while I get what they were going for, it felt odd to me and a little misplaced, especially towards the end. And there's also a little bit of green screen at the end. I could tell in certain shots when Creed was standing in the ring, I could tell he was in front of a green screen. You can't nail everything, I get it. It's just those tiny moments, it's like, oh, that could have been better and that could have been better. And like I said, you get the tender moments. The movie does slow down in parts. I thought it was necessary. Some people are going to think it's boring. And that's one thing I can't say about the first Creed. The first Creed never had those moments that got a little too slow or a little too conventional. The first Creed, it kept me on my toes the entire time. And while this one didn't do it the entire time, it still really kept me on my toes. And the end was that emotional gut punch, guys. This movie really gave me everything I wanted. I don't want people going in expecting expecting something completely different, listen, if you like the Rocky films and if you like Creed 1, you are going to like this movie. It has the moments, it has everything you could possibly want in a sequel to Creed. It doesn't really go beyond that, and it doesn't do something completely different, but I personally don't think it needed to. I love when a film does what it set out to do, and for me, that's what Creed 2 did. I am going to give Creed 2 a very high score. I'm going to give it an 88% just because I think it nailed what it tried to do in the first place, and that is give fans a really good sequel to the first Creed. It's not as good as the first Creed, in my humble opinion, but some people, they may feel differently. But the most important thing here is, what did you guys think of Creed 2? Did it measure up? Are you excited to go to the theater and watch this? Are you also excited for Green Book and Ralph Breaks the Internet? I'm seeing both of those tomorrow. Probably Ralph Breaks the Internet will be earlier in the day, and then Green Book later in the evening. And then the next day we have a brand new Kurt Russell Santa Claus Christmas movie, so get excited. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for everything that you do, and I'll catch you later.